So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Winx Club. So let's start the series. Miles of dark clouds covered the landscape, thunder clapping and lightning pelting the earth. There were several craters on the ground, suggesting that a fierce conflict was taking place that would determine the fate of the entire globe. Two figures in the distance, one standing 6 yards away from the other who was dead on the ground, provided evidence of this. Two lads who were roughly 16 years old made up the figurines. In addition to wearing an orange jumpsuit, black sandals, and a long black headband with a metal plate featuring a leaf-like symbol, the boy standing there had blonde hair that matched the sun and 6 whisker-like birthmarks, 3 on each face. His clothes were torn and ragged from his past conflicts. The blonde replied, "The war is finally over," to his fallen foe. In addition to being ripped and torn, Naruto's friend was likewise wearing black Uchiha robes with a belt sash around his waist. The only difference was that he was bleeding from his stomach and chest from the 2 attacks that his erstwhile comrade had startled him with. Naruto remembered the fierce combat earlier and gazed onto his old companion. "Finally there will be peace in this world, the peace that my father, sensei and sibling disciple had spoken of," remarked Naruto, who was panting severely. His chakra levels had been completely depleted by the combat. Naruto went to his knees and used his arms to keep himself from collapsing on the ground, but he realized he didn't have much time left. "Naruto," a voice said. "Nine beasts," Naruto murmured while still gasping for air. Recently, Naruto discovered that the Sage of the 6 Paths, together with his tailed beast siblings, had given the 9-tailed fox his true name. 9 Beasts stated that he would not be able to treat him, and that Hyde Ninja Village 12 was on their way. "Naruto, I have no more chakra left. You've used all of it since your battle with Obito and Ghost Uchiha. Wait. I see your friends are coming, maybe your friend Sakura can heal you," he replied. The concept shocked his new companion. "It's okay, 9 Beast. I'm ready to die," Naruto said. The tailed beast asked, "Naruto, what about your dream of becoming headmaster?" The blonde answered, "I don't care about that anymore. All I care about is peace in our world, and that includes the tailed beasts," which puzzled his tenant. 9 Beast questioned, "What do you mean by that, Naruto?" He smiles when he sees his Jinchuriki draw his kunai and write something on the ground. Naruto moaned as he collapsed to the ground, unable to keep himself upright. 9 Beasts, I know that my friends and the masters will respect this wish and you and the others will be equal and free," he thought. The fox said, "Kid, I will die with you." 9 Beasts, you and I both know that you will regenerate after I die," said Naruto. "I know, but you became my first real friend and I will die alongside with you," 9 Beast replied. When Naruto saw his pals approaching him, he turned his face to the left and grinned. His eyes closed, and he let out a final breath. The mindscape of Naruto. The tailed beast realized his first friend had died and was about to die when he saw that it was growing dark around him. 9 Beast closed his eyes and whispered, "Goodbye, Naruto," as the darkness engulfed him. Returning to the wasteland. When Sakura and the Hyde Ninja Village 11 were 15 yards away, a ray of dazzling light appeared on one of the bodies, shone through the black clouds, and then lifted the body up to the sky, where the light vanished. Their hyperactive goofball friend was gone when they eventually reached the area of light, and all they saw was the corpse of their treacherous Naruto comrade. "Where's Naruto? Where is he?" Hinata cried out in a panic. Sakura comprehended what the light did when they all searched their surrounds and found no indication of his body. Sakura stated, "Everyone, Naruto's gone. He's not here," with regret. Hinata didn't believe it, but everyone's eyes widened. "He can't be, he's got to be here somewhere." "Hinata, that bright light we saw, It pulled something towards to the clouds and disappeared. I think it was Naruto, Sakura responded. She watched the expressions on her companions' faces as they realized that the spark of hope had been extinguished for the person whom the Allied high-level ninja forces had battled so hard to preserve. You think it was heaven itself that took Naruto? Replied Kiba. At this, Sakura simply shrugged. I don't know, maybe. The one person that I know who deserves to go to heaven is Naruto. He's done so much for our world, Sakura replied. After hearing what Sakura had to say, everyone was still unable to speak, but after giving it some thought, they acknowledged that she was correct. At that moment, Lee noticed something. Guys, look on the ground, Lee instructed. Everyone was taken aback by the request after reading the writing. Kiba exclaimed, That Naruto. He always done impossible things, but nothing like this. And everyone nodded. We should get the masters to take a look at this. I'm sure that they will not refuse this request, Sakura replied. 10 minutes later, the 5 masters who had survived their fight with Ghost Uchiho and the remaining members of the Allied high-level ninja forces reached the area of Hyde Ninja Village 11. Sakura explained to them the idea that heaven would actually deliver Naruto to its gates, as well as the light and Naruto's disappearance. Lord Masters, there is something that you should see, Sakura replied. She led the masters to the writing and it said, Hey everyone. I probably don't have a lot of time left, considering that I've exhausted my chakra and pushed my body far beyond its limits. So I'll go straight to the point. Don't treat the Jinchuriki like outcasts anymore. The lack of respect and refusal to treat them as a human, instead as a weapon, is the reason why the Akatsuki managed to gather up the tailed beasts, save the 8 and 9 tails. Another thing, it is time to stop treating and seeing the tailed beasts as weapons for the villages. They are living beings, created from the Sage of the Six Paths himself, and they have names. The 1 tails is Shikaku, 2 tails is Matatabi, 3 tails is Isabu, 4 tails is Son Goku, 5 tails is Kokuo, 6 tails is Saiken, 7 tails is Chomei, 8 tails is Gyuki, and the 9 tails, my friend, is 9 beast. When you release them from the prison that they're in, they will be free from captivity and live on their lives. It is their choice if they want to be associated with a ninja village or sealed in a Jinchuriki. Please don't let this happen again. Don't create another cycle of hatred. Goodbye, everyone. Uzumaki is out. With the exception of the Rai Master and Sui Master, who were frowning, all 5 masters were moved. However, Gaara and the 5th head master were in tears. The former was grieving the loss of a distant relative, and the latter was grieving the loss of his best friend, who was aware of the precise kind of suffering that Jinchuriki usually endures. Everybody agreed when the 5th head master finally stopped crying and said, We will honor his request. It is time we destroy the cycle of hatred and never let this happen again. The leaders of each village informed the army about the requests, and they all agreed after discovering the tailed beasts' true names. The tailed beasts were released after a few days, but some chose to remain in their own villages. Gyuki stayed imprisoned in Killer Bee, which was connected to the Hidden Cloud village. Son Goku stayed with the Hidden Rock village, and Shikaku stayed and became related with the Hidden Sand village. Keep Ninja Village hidden. After learning that their hero of the Hidden Leaf had been killed in combat, the entire village was in a severe state of mourning. To honor Naruto for his unparalleled devotion, loyalty, and fortitude to his community and allies, the elite ninja and locals visited the Hidden Leaf Shrine. At his funeral, soldiers from the allied high-level ninja forces also showed up and declared him a war hero. Gamabunta, Gamakichi, Gamatatsu, the Great Toad Sage, Lady Shima, Lord Fukasaku, and the rest of the Toad population had also been present. The 4th headmaster's stone, which was positioned in line with the earlier headmasters, was positioned next to his gravestone. Sakura placed flowers on her friend's stone and said, Naruto, we will never forget you. We will meet you up there later. As a statement that they will always remember the number 1, hyperactive, knuckled-headed ninja, who, to the rest of the ninja world, was regarded as the savior of the world, The stone was flooded with presents and flowers from the entire village. An additional aircraft. When Naruto abruptly awakens, he is in a vast, white area that appears to be the platform of a train station. He noticed that his garments were no longer torn and ripped as they had been, so he went to check on anyone else. "Where am I?" Naruto inquired. One voice remarked. "You really are dull, aren't you?" Naruto turned around after recognizing the voice and saw his tailed beast, Nine Beast, standing before him. Naruto was perplexed as to why Nine Beast was with him, but he could never get used to his friend's height and sheer bulk. "Nine Beast, how are you here? Is this heaven?" replied Naruto. At this, Nine Beast sighed. "This is purgatory, the plane between life and death," the fox stated, startling his human companion. "You really should have paid attention to your classes in the Ninja Academy." Naruto questioned. "Purgatory? Why would we be in purgatory?" A voice responded. "I can answer that for you, young one." When Naruto turned around, he saw a figure engulfed in light so intense that the blonde had to hide his eyes, and Nine Beast was still expressionless but had a somewhat startled expression. "Who are you?" inquired the elite ninja, who was still hiding his eyes. With order for Naruto to recognize the figure as a woman with a white kimono, the illumination slightly dimmed. "I'm Kami," Kami declared. When Naruto's eyes widened, he fell on his knees and bowed to his god. Naruto said, "You brought me here?" The answer was, "Yes, I brought you and Nine Beast here," Kami said. "Why?" Nine Beast inquired. Kami responded, "Because the two of you are not done yet," which confused the tailed beast and his companion who was human. Then Naruto said courteously, "What do you mean we're not done yet?" "You have done incredible deeds for your world, especially how you two had gotten along in the war and built so much trust in each other in such a short amount of time. Now there is another dimension whose peace is in danger," responded Kami. "Another dimension? Why can't the people over there protect the peace?" replied Naruto. "Because there will be obstacles that they will need help to overcome, and they have little to no experience in battle. You have an extraordinary amount of battle experience, and your abilities will help them greatly, along with your friend here." Kami sighed at this. Although Naruto had considered this numerous times, Nine Beast was already aware of the conclusion his Jinchuriki had reached. "I'm in," Naruto declared. He noticed his deity's slight expression of relief, but he had one final thought. Stunning the pair, the blonde stated, "Kami, is it possible that you could send Nine Beasts back home?" "Why?" inquired Kami. Naruto answered, "Because Nine Beast would have the freedom that he's always wanted." And then he heard the tailed beast laughing. "Naruto, I am going with you, whether you like it or not. You will need my help if you come across a powerful enemy, and besides, I've always wanted to travel between dimensions and I'm not giving this opportunity up. This way, we get to work together more," Nine Beast replied. Despite being taken aback by Nine Beast's words, Naruto grinned and said he was excited to go on a new journey with his new best friend. With eagerness and resolve, Naruto responded, "All right then. Kami, send us to the dimension, and we'll do our best to help preserve the peace." At this, Kami grinned and extended her hand, clearly confusing the experienced ninja. After saying, "Come here, Naruto. I have a gift for you," Kami said. Following her instructions, Naruto approached and extended his hand, palm up. A substance that resembled ice popsicles materialized and fell into Naruto's hand as a light appeared between the hands. "Kami, what is this, some sort of weapon?" inquired Naruto, wearing a "What the heck is this?" expression. "Yes, it can change you to whatever weapon that you want," said Kami. "This isn't a weapon. It can't be a weapon," replied Naruto. Nerdu felt remorseful and shocked that the weapon had emotions when the ice popsicle was injured and slumped down with a dejected squeak. The blonde laughed as well. Okay, I'll give you a chance, Nerdu remarked, causing his weapon to hop up and down on his hand. The words, "Another thing," Cammy said. Nerdu witnessed the goddess extend her right hand and conjure a scroll that resembled the one he had worn in the conflict with Pain. Nerdu inquired, "What's in the scroll?" Cammy's response, "In this scroll holds an infinite number of ninja tools, kunai, explosive tags, wire, smoke bombs, and shurikens. Please, Nerdu." "Thank you, Cammy," Nerdu murmured, placing his new weapon in his right pocket and carrying the scroll around his back. "Okay, we're ready," the superior ninja declared. Keeping in mind the two crucial items to offer to Nerdu, Cammy added, "Wait, 2 more things and you're on your way." After approaching Nerdu and placing her middle and index fingers on his forehead, a dimmed light briefly appeared before vanishing. "I had given you knowledge of several Winx-style nin spirit art that suit you and your fighting style. I've also given you your mother's clan secrets, family history, unique sealing techniques, and your father's flying thunder god technique, its formula and its kunai," Cammy remarked. Nerdu was pleased to learn more about the history of his clan, Winx-style nin spirit art, and the method that earned his father the nickname, the Yellow Flash. The blonde ninja bowed to Cammy and said, "Thank you very much," before getting to her feet. Nine Beast, growing impatient, asked, "Could we get going now?" This made Nerdu and Cammy laugh. Cammy then called forth a gateway beside him, and the lad approached it while glancing at his partner. Then Nerdu said, "Ready for another adventure, Nine Beast?" With a nod, the fox vanished, his body transforming into red energy as he returned to Nerdu and gave Cammy one more glance. "Thank you for everything, Cammy," Nerdu remarked, and she smiled. "You're welcome and good luck on your adventure. The ability that I gave you will only be unlocked through training or when you need it the most," Cammy remarked to the blonde. Nerdu questioned, "What ability? What are you talking about?" Cammy teased the ninja, who pouted. "It's a surprise," she said. Nerdu replied, "Ah, man. Oh, well, I'll find sooner or later," and leaped into the portal, which closed as soon as he was within. The ninja, who was dubbed the Savior of the World, is currently embarking on yet another adventure filled with fun and friendship. Keep Ninja Village hidden. 4 hours have passed since the funeral service, and everyone has returned home. On top of the headmaster monument, looking out over the rebuilt village, which had been completely destroyed by the invasion of Pain, were the 5th headmaster, Shizen, 6th headmaster, Guy, Fukasaku, Shima, Gamabunta, and the Great Toad Sage. Despite this, they persevered and returned stronger. Fukasaku was dejected since he couldn't lose another pupil, but he also recalled the legacy Nerdu had left behind. The world will be at peace thanks to the child of prophecy. Shima added, "I can't believe he's gone," as she started to cry. Her spouse approached her to offer consolation. 5th headmaster replied, "I know, I wish we had talked to him one last time," and everyone agreed. The elite ninja are stunned when they suddenly find themselves in a white area that seems to go on forever. Guy said, "What the? Where are we?" "I don't know," said the 6th headmaster in response. A dazzling light cleared their uncertainty, and a figure emerged, exposing a woman wearing a white kimono. The Great Toad Sage's eyes widened. When the sage said, "Cammy," everyone's eyes widened and they bowed to their god. Cammy exclaimed, "Arise, high-level ninja!" and her followers got to their feet. Gamabunta questioned, "My lady, to what do we owe to your presence?" Cammy told them, "I'm here to let you know that Nerdu is not dead," which shocked everyone. Shizen questioned, "Nerdu's alive? How?" Until the fifth headmaster became aware of the light, the goddess remained silent. Cammy nodded in agreement when fifth headmaster said, "You took his body, didn't you?" "Yes, I took his body and brought him to purgatory. I had told him about an incoming evil that threatens peace in another dimension," Cammy replied. Startled, the sixth headmaster asked, "You sent him to another dimension?" The deity said, "Yes, I gave him a choice and he said that he was up for the challenge, along with his friend," confusing the creatures with the final statement. "What do you mean by his friend?" the fifth headmaster questioned. "The 9 tails, or 9 beasts, as you now know." Cammy stunned everyone with her response. Gamabunta questioned, "Nerdu went to another dimension with 9 beasts?" "Nerdu will face powerful opponents, so 9 beasts decided to go with him, and there is a reason why I'm telling you this," Cammy added. Fifth headmaster asked, "Why are you telling us?" "Because there will be a time that he and 9 beasts will need your help in case there's a battle that will overwhelm even them," Cammy replied. Fukasaku added, "We will be there to help them out," and everyone agreed. Cammy grinned at this, but a second later, she received a serious gaze. With a serious tone, Cammy stated, "But you must not tell anyone else. This must stay between all of you." "We won't tell a soul," Gamabunta declared. Cammy grinned before vanishing. The headmaster monument was where the elite ninja ended up. "Can't believe Nerdu is in another dimension and 9 beasts is with him," Guy replied. Tusnade replied, "Well, Nerdu is unpredictable and when he needs help, we'll be there." And everyone nodded. They grinned as they took in the sunset, knowing that their favorite high-level ninja, despite being a complete moron, was still alive and well. Universe of Winx Club. Dimension of Magics. At the town close to the 3 magical schools, Cloud Tower for witches, Red Fountain for magicians, and Alfea for fairies, clouds are brewing. Darcy, the Tricks commander, freezes a red-haired girl named Bloom in an ice jail in an alley. However, Bloom's new pals Flora, Stella, Musa, and Tekna interrupted them. "Let her alone," Stella was saying. The princess's demand did not deter the Tricks or the ogre Canute. "Canute, this is your chance to redeem yourself. Take out these losers," Icy replied. Icy isn't having it with the ogre charging at the ladies who leaped out of the way at the last second, changing into their basic fairies form and using their spells to render the troll immobile. "That's it," Icy declared, dissolving the troll's shackles by calling out ice crystals. The fairies were definitely astonished by this. "Canute, destroy them now," Icy insisted. Despite the black clouds encircling the town and the lightning striking the earth between him and the girls, the ogre continued to charge at the fairies. "What's this?" Icy inquired. A 16-year-old lad with blonde hair, bizarre clothing, peculiar birthmarks on his cheeks, and a gigantic scroll behind his back emerged from the portal, shocking the fairies, Tricks, and Canute. The boy was perplexed as the portal closed behind him, but then he noticed the Tricks with Canute and turned to see a bunch of winged girls standing next to the ice-trapped girl. With his arms crossed and gesturing to the 2 groups, Nerda said, "Okay, I'm assuming that you girls standing next to the human popsicle that you are battling with those girls and the one I mutt, correct?" Nerda turned to the troll when the females nodded, stating, "That's all I needed to know." Nerda stated, "I'm going to say this once, leave now." Sharply. The Tricks felt nothing, but Canute sensed the strength emanating from the youngster and realized that he wasn't your typical human. Darcy smirked and said, "Ha, you don't know whom you're messing with." Nerda shuddered as he recalled one of the horrifying excursions Sakura made him accompany to the Hidden Leaf Village. "Yes, I do. I'm dealing with 3 girls who put too much eyeliner and don't know a thing about makeup," he remarked. Icy's forehead developed an angry vein as a result of this remark. Canute, destroy him, Icy ordered. The fairies became uneasy when the troll, after a brief pause, charged at the lad who was just standing there. Stella yelled, "Move, get out of the way!" in an attempt to alert the stranger, but to no avail. Canute was about to strike Nerdu when he ducked and smacked him with an uppercut to the chin, stunning the two groups of magical beings and sending the troll flying out of the alley. With a serious expression on his face, Nerdu stated, "I'll say this one last time, leave now." "How can that be?" He simply ducked and punched Canute once, sending him flying. Icy thought, "He can't be normal." But she forced herself to ignore her amazement. Icy remarked icily, "All right, boy. You want to mess with witches? You got it." Since Nerda had never heard of witches before, he was a little perplexed, but since he is in a strange dimension, everything is different. Nerda leaped in front of the fairies and swiftly repelled the oncoming attack after Icy launched another round of ice crystals at the boy and the fairies. Nerda announced, "Wind style, vortex shield," following the completion of the final hand signal. When the crystals struck the shield, they were sliced into nothing, but Nerdu and the fairies were shielded from the ice attack by a wind vortex. When Icy and her sisters witnessed the lad calling forth the wind to shield him, they were astounded. The fairies also smashed the ice crystals. The tricks, especially Icy and Stormy, were not pleased when the shield vanished. Stormy taunted the group, calling forth a purple from the sky and saying, "All right, how about a little lightning?" But Nerda retaliated. Nerda exhaled a bullet of wind toward the lightning and launched an assault, aiming directly at the witches. "Wind style, air bullet," he muttered. The three of them gazed at the child in disbelief and ducked out of the way. What made his attacks better than ours? The Fairy of the Sun swiftly countered this by removing her ring, throwing it into the air, and changing into a staff. Icy thought, "I've never heard or seen wind-based attacks being superior to ice and lightning-based attacks." However, she had had enough and began to build up magic to use one of her powerful spells. With a swing of her staff, Stella declared, "Hang on, everyone. We're out of here." And Nerda and the other fairies vanished. "What? No, they've escaped again," Icy exclaimed, startled by the sudden change in circumstances. Somewhere in the city, Stella was warming Bloom from the cold, but she unintentionally disclosed Bloom's identity to the other fairies. "You poor thing. Well, you could have lasted in that ice for 15 more minutes. Considering you're from Earth and all, you've done splendidly, Bloom," Stella stated. Stella turned around uncomfortably as the three of them said, "Stella!" at the same time. "Why did you call her Bloom and that she's from Earth?" Flora responded. Stella nervously placed her pointer fingers together and added, "Well, it's kind of a long story. I'll explain everything later." This made Bloom laugh, but he also saw the boy standing behind them. Pointing to Nerda, Bloom questioned, "Who's that?" The kid felt uneasy as the girls gazed at him. Stella cheerfully remarked, "He fended off against those witches and saved you." "Oh, thank you very much," Bloom replied. Nerda laughed and added, "You're welcome. I'm just glad you're all right," oblivious to Bloom's little flush. Tekna remarked, "We never did get your name." "Oh, well, my name is Nerduzumaki," the advanced ninja clarified. The Fairy of Nature said, "Hello, Nerdu, I'm Flora." "I'm Tekna," the Music Fairy declared. "I'm Musa," the Tech Fairy introduced herself. "I'm Stella," the Joyful Fairy of the Sun declared. "And I'm Bloom," the girl with the red hair remarked. Nerda turned and was about to go when he felt a hand on his shoulder. "Well, it was a pleasure to meet you all. Now it's time for me to leave," he remarked. Flora said, Wait, where are you going? Well, I haven't really thought about that, Nerd answered, stroking the back of his head and laughing sheepishly. Surprised, Bloom answered, Well, you can come stay with us. To the boy and girls. Musa replied, Pardon us for a moment. And she dragged Bloom away from Nerda and into the group huddle. Are you crazy? Musa inquired. What? Inquired Bloom. What do you mean, what? You know Alfea is only for fairies, meaning only girls, replied Musa. Bloom and her friends turned to Nerdu, who didn't realize he was in the middle of the road until a hovermobile honked at him, and he leaped out of the way, saying, Watch where you're going, huh? Before they turned back to each other. But he saved us and it looks like he has no idea where to go, Bloom said. Yeah, you're all right about that part, but what about and her assistant? It's most likely that they're not going to let him stay. Most importantly, can we trust him? Replied Musa. Bloom tried to disguise her slight flush, but Stella saw and remained silent. Yes, we can. I have this feeling that he's different somehow, Bloom answered. Well, we can try to hide him, but we need to find a place for him, Tekna replied. The girls turned to discover Nuda fiddling with a kunai at his fingertips after they had agreed. When the ninja noticed the girls approaching him, he put the kunai away and awaited their choice. What's up? Nuda inquired. Catching the blonde off guard, Musa groaned and continued. You can stay with us in our dorm for tonight, but you have to stay hidden, understand? Are you sure about that? I mean, I don't want to get you girls in trouble because of me, remarked Nerda in a worried tone. It's all right. Now, come on, we got to get going, Flora replied. The troop began to make its way to Alfea. Alfea. The girls were dressed normally when the group returned to the school. Nudu was chatting up the females and finding out about their families, talents, and home lives. I want to be honest, Bloom stated. Stella remarked. We'll talk about it later. For now, just follow me. So as not to be caught, but regrettably, the group was the subject of 2 spotlights. Ms. Griselda remarked. Freeze, ladies. Girls, do you know how late is it? The head of discipline inquired. We were worried about you girls. Now go to bed right away and we'll talk in the morning, stated Ms. Farragonda. The assistant said, Hold there, Princess Victoria. What was it that you wanted to tell? Well, I'm not Victoria from Valisto. My name is Bloom and I'm from Earth, Bloom replied. The assistant wiped her spectacles and asked, Earth as in planet Earth? Bloom nearly started crying as she implored. Please don't send me away. I know I belong here. This is the most amazing place with the most amazing people ever. Which made her friends smile. Well, I say you get punished. You broke 2 rules in one day and I think you should be turned into slime, the worker replied. Now it took a lot of courage to tell the truth and she can take Miss Victoria's place, stated Ms. Farragonda. Wahoo, all right, the females exclaimed. Just as they were ready to depart, Bloom recalled Nerdu. Bloom said, Girls, where's Nerdu? The girls' eyes widened as they scanned the area for the boy, but he was nowhere to be found. Sadly, Bloom's question had been overheard by the 2 old fairies. The headmaster questioned, Who is this Nerdu? And the girls exchanged glances until Bloom and Stella finished their counter with the tricks and informed them what had happened in town. Nerdu was contemplating his future residence while standing at the edge of the barrier that guards Alfea when he was interrupted by a voice. Hold it right there, young man, Ms. Farragonda responded. The headmaster, her assistant, and the girls were standing behind them as Nerdu turned around. When Ms. Farragonda said, Where are you going? Well, I didn't want to get the girls in trouble and I thought I could sleep in the forest tonight, answered Nerdu with a smile. The last statement made the ninja perspire. Oh no. You didn't cause any problems for the girls, and they told me what happened in town. Besides, there are dangerous creatures that hunt during the night, Ms. Farragonda remarked. It's no problem, I'm just happy to help them out. That's all, the advanced ninja replied. The boy's energy, hyperactivity, and cheerful disposition set him apart from the rest, as the headmaster can see. You can stay with us for a while. We have extra room, somewhere, she remarked, startling her assistant, and not knowing where the additional room was. The extra room is in our dorm, Stella remarked with a smile. Her assistant asked her, Are you sure about this? Yes, I'm sure, and he doesn't look like the type of boy that will take advantage of the girls. Also, I'm interested to learn more about his wind-based abilities that the girls had mentioned, replied Ms. Farragonda. Naruto covered his mouth and yawned, saying, You can trust me, ma'am, and I'll explain my abilities later. Of course. Well, go on. You're obviously tired from your travels, she added, nodding in accord with the blonde. Naruto replied. Yeah, well, thank you, Ms. The headmaster continued, completing his statement. The ninja bowed respectfully and murmured, Yes, thank you very much, as she approached the females. The assistant said, Hold on for 1 minute there, and halted Naruto. Yes? What planet are you from? Naruto said, I'm from Earth, since he was aware that his dimension was Earth. Both Bloom and the assistant simultaneously questioned, You're from Earth as well? Confused by their response, Naruto questioned, Yeah, well, in another dimension? Naruto was confused when Ms. Farragonda said, From another dimension? So are you a magical creature? To everyone's surprise, Naruto calmly responded, No, I'm 100% human, not this magical creature. What? Naruto inquired. The assistant stunned Naruto by saying, It's just that there is a barrier around magics that allows only magical creatures pass through. No humans. The ninja wondered how this universe operated and thought, Perhaps it's because of the 9 beasts sealed inside me. Well, we'll discuss this in greater detail tomorrow, the headmaster remarked. You all need to sleep right now. Naruto and the girls nodded and left for the hostel, leaving Ms. Farragonda and her aide behind. The helper remarked, I believe that all fairies on Earth had gone extinct centuries ago. Yes, but who exactly is Bloom? The headmaster inquired. More significantly, who is Naruto? When the 3 warrior kings were wreaking devastation on magics with the ancestral witches, he used his extraordinary talents to stop them. That was the last time a human visited magics, the assistant remarked. Yes, it is accurate. Tomorrow, we'll find out more about Bloom's and Naruto's backgrounds, particularly the boys', Ms. Farragonda stated. The land is encircled by thunderclouds, the trees are shadows of their former selves, and for miles there is nothing but a massive mountain whose summit reaches the clouds, a castle in the center of which is a throne room with 3 crystallized coffins standing upwards, each with 3 beings inside and some kind of writing and symbols in the center. A typical coffin emerged from the stone ground moments after thunder shook the castle and red eyes in one of the coffins opened, attempting, but failing, to escape its captivity. The creature closed its eyes as though it was concentrating on something. Awaken, my servant, the being said in a chilly voice as the coffin opened to reveal a burly man dressed in black, with a hood on the back of his shirt, a black mask covering his head except for his eyes, 2 swords on his belt, and a symbol on his chest that resembled a hand holding a sword handle. The man also bowed to the coffin that held his master prisoner. The warrior answered, Master, you've called me. Yes, I sensed Magix's presence. The person who had put my siblings and I in these confusing prisons looks strikingly similar to this one. Bring him to me so we can be released. The warrior said, It shall be done, master, and vanished into black smoke. He then resurfaced outside the castle and made a portal that led into Magic's. The warrior said, I shall find you, as he proceeded to locate the person his lord had dispatched him to catch. Bloom and the girls in Alfea. Hello, everybody, the elf stated. My name is Professor Whizgaz, and I'll be teaching you girls about metamorphosis. Bloom and Stella were seated in the front of the room, while the girls were seated on the left, close to the windows. What exactly is metamorphosis, then? Asked the professor, and no one raised their hands. No one? The elf pushed his cheek wide and transformed into a smiling Griselda, making the teenagers laugh. Well, metamorphosis is the art of changing your body, he explained. The little magical creature described how metamorphic magic is useful for discretion and that you can change your body at any time. The elf changed back into his previous form and hopped on a couple tables. Whizgaz stated, Now, since this is the first class of the year, we'll start something small and simple, as he used magic to make mirrors appear from the holes in the tables. All of the girls, with the exception of Naruto, naturally grabbed them. Changing your hair color. You ladies should have no trouble with it. The most of the girls succeeded in changing the color of their hair, but Bloom gave up after trying and placed her mirror on her table in front of her, feeling discouraged. It's too early to start lagging behind, Bloom. After observing the girl giving up too easily, Whizgaz remarked, You have a lot of homework to do. The office. When the door opened and the ninja turned around, they saw Ms. Farragonda and Ms. Griselda. Naruto was waiting for the elderly fairy in the middle of the headmaster's office, having been called early in the morning, and he assumed she wanted to know about his ability to get past the barrier that surrounds magics, as well as about his wind-based attack. Good morning, Naruto. Farragonda opened her mouth. Good morning, Ms. Farragonda, Ms. Griselda, Naruto remarked, greeting the two elderly women. The two fairies approached the desk, where Griselda stood behind Farragonda, who took her seat. So, why am I here? Naruto inquired. We want to know where you're from. In what way do you manage to go over the obstacle? And how did you make your wind-based attack more powerful than a lightning strike? When the headmaster asked, Naruto paused, considering the repercussions and if he could trust the two. Naruto, you can rely on them regarding our history. Additionally, you possess my special capacity to recognize animosity and unpleasant feelings, but others lack all of the aforementioned qualities, Nine Beast remarked. How about you, though? I don't know how I got past the barrier, and I can't tell them about you. Hold on, you're to blame? Naruto inquired. You can tell them about me, and as for your question, it probably has to do with your chakra as well as me being sealed inside, since you don't have magic, said the fox. Hee hee, thanks Nine Beast. The ninja chuckled softly while gazing at the old fairies. Well, out with it, young man, Griselda remarked impatiently. All right, so in my culture, we have a unique energy known as chakra. It is our life force and the body's fusion of spiritual and physical energies. The fairy pair was stunned as Naruto said, I think it's the reason I was able to get past the barrier. Chakra. Where did I first hear that term? Griselda inquired. Farragonda murmured, Please continue, Naruto, and the elite ninja nodded. As the child stated, we can manipulate our chakra to do supernatural feats and battle each other as well as manipulate the elements around us to gain an advantage. Farragonda and Griselda were stunned. Turn your life power against one another? Isn't that risky? Farragonda inquired. Yeah, when you utilize nearly all of it in combat. However, we practice to use more chakra and get stronger as a result, the blonde retorted. When Griselda said, You still haven't explained your place of origin, she didn't pause. In my dimension, I come from the Hidden Leaf Village, one of the 5 main ninja villages, replied Naruto. You're an assassin because you're a ninja? Griselda inquired. No, technically. My world's ninja are not like yours, and we carry out missions to make money for our patrons. The ninja answered. The missions range from simple chores to escorting a high-powered person. The boy went on to describe his early years, his ninja graduation, the missions he completed with his former team, and the Akatsuki. He left the 4th high-level ninja world war and his deity sent him to their world because he was aware that the fairies would find the information he had just shared a bit overwhelming. I had no idea that a village would beat up a child at a young age for no reason, stated Farragonda. Everything is okay. After completing my last task, I wanted to investigate the other dimensions I had heard about, therefore here I am, Naruto replied. We appreciate your candor with us. Telling us must have been difficult, Farragonda remarked. No, it wasn't. The blonde surprised the two by saying, Now I have something else in mind, I'm going to leave tonight. What is the reason behind your departure? In an attempt to talk Naruto out of leaving, the headmaster stated, You can stay here for a while and there is our annual ball going on tonight. I appreciate your kindness last night, but I have to leave. Regardless, thank you for the invitation, Naruto replied as he started to leave the room. Is he going because we're asking him questions? Griselda inquired. As Farragonda placed her thumb and finger on her chin and considered something, she answered, No, it's probably something else. The room of Flora. While Flora was attending to her flowers, Bloom and Stella were on the bed, the former holding a mirror in front of her. I was the only one who couldn't do it, said Bloom, who was still upset about not changing the color of her hair. Well, you know what they say, practice makes perfect. Stella responded with a positive attitude. Yes, you're correct. With her confidence restored, Bloom remarked, I can do this. Stella then positioned herself beside her as she assisted the red-haired human. Now think about the best hair day you got, Stella instructed, and Bloom concentrated on that day, but instead her hair spiked up in the front. This is my reward? Frustrated, Bloom asked. Slow down, geez. This year is going to be long, Stella said. Outside Alfea, in the forest. Naruto, a master of Spirit art, was strolling through the forest, gazing at the trees, the animals, and the clear sky. He was able to sense the energy of nature and grinned, understanding that this planet is fiercely protective of its habitat. What are we doing out here, Naruto? Nine Beast inquired. Instead, Naruto used a mind link to respond. We're looking for a good place to build around. Because no one else was around to listen to him speak to Nine Beast, or to avoid being stared at as though he was insane. Build what? Nine Beast had to inquire. The blonde's response. Our house, stunned his tailed beast. How would you accomplish that? The fox's Jinchuriki twitched his eye slightly as he remarked. You have no idea what you're doing when it comes to building a house. You believe that? Do you recall Cammy sharing the mysteries of my mother's clan with me? In fact, she provided me the building designs for the house my parents occupied, Naruto remarked. So, how long do you anticipate building the house? A couple of days with clones? The fox inquired. No, I'll just set up a tent and go hunting for a week or two while the house is being built. The high-level ninja stopped strolling and said, I found the perfect spot. He was reminded of the Hidden Leaf Village by the large number of trees and a waterfall that was connected to a river that was flowing downstream. You picked a great spot, kid. I'm grateful, Nine Beast. As he sprang to the trees and made his way back to Alfea, Naruto remarked. Now I got to go back, traveling around can be exhausting. Alfea Cafeteria? Bloom, don't worry. Eventually you'll be able to use magic, Flora replied. I hope so, Bloom said, a little dejected. Will you all please give me your attention? The girls turned to see their headmaster standing next to Griselda behind a table, asking Farragonda. As everyone is aware, tomorrow night marks the beginning of the new school year with our Alfea traditional dance. The boys from Red Fountain School of Heroics and Bravery will be our guests, and they will bring gifts for you ladies, Farragonda stated. But not overly cordial. Supervisors will be present, and love and crushed potions are prohibited, the detention head stated. However, dancing is encouraged. I don't care about it. I recall meeting my hubby at my first Alfea dance. With cheers and enthusiasm, the headmaster announced that all lessons would be cancelled for the whole day so that the ladies could prepare. Academy of Cloud Towers. 3 familiar faces, the Tricks, were among the students gathered for a meeting with Headmaster Griffin. They were waiting for her in casual attire when she finally showed up. The headmaster took the podium to share her news. She's scary, one pupil remarked. I've convened this meeting to deliver some regrettable news. Once more, we are not invited to Alfea College's annual dance. Therefore, we will get revenge by putting out this challenge. Come up with a concept that will make those fairy brats sobbing uncontrollably. Participants will send their proposals to the faculty for consideration. You are now fired! Griffin cried out. We should take this opportunity to take the Ring of Solaria, Icy replied. Agreed, her sisters all said at once. But wait, what about that blonde boy we met? Darcy recalled something or someone else. Before the 3 of them left the room, Icy scoffed and said, That boy got a lucky shot on us. The oldest sister raised her hand and formed a little ice crystal in her palm. If he shows his face again, we'll show him what we're really made of. Her sisters gave her menacing smirks. The room of Stella. You always got to look your best, Stella said, showing off an orange dress to Flora, Tekna, Musa, and Bloom, who were all dressed for the dance except for the red-haired one. I used my credit card that my daddy gave me, but it's totally worth it, Stella said, with the former 2 sitting on the bed, Musa leaning against the wall, and Bloom sitting on the floor. It was beckoning me, urging me to acquire it. Yeah, it certainly is you, Musa said, finding it amusing that Stella, a shopping diva, would purchase the garment. Flora added, I wish we could use magic to make our outfits. And Musa agreed. I know, it took me forever to find this dress, Tekna said, echoing the nature fairy's assertion. Yes, but in any case, where did you find the dress? Stella, evaluating the tech fairy, inquired. As the fairies heard a knock on the door, Tekna defended her choice of attire, saying, I'll have you know that this is the top dress in fashion. Then Stella said, Come in. Their blonde companion from the previous evening appeared as the door opened. Hello, women. Wow, you girls look great, Nerdu exclaimed as he entered the room, oblivious to Bloom's frown because she was wearing a dress. Oh, Nerdu, thank you. Where have you been? Stella inquired. Just strolling in the woods. The fairies raised an eyebrow at Nerdu, saying, It's really nice. All morning? In any case, will you attend the dance? Bloom inquired. Dancing? Which dance? Bloom explained about the Alfea traditional dance with the Male Hero Academy to the teenage blonde ninja. How well about that? Nerdu stunned the females with his reply. I'm leaving tonight. What? I asked the girls. But why? Bloom inquired. Thanks for letting me stay last night, girls. However, I need to find a place of my own, since this is a school for girls. The blonde remarked. I don't think I'll quite fit in. Where will you call home? Tekna inquired. In the woodland. He noticed Bloom's dejected expression and said, Don't worry, I can take care of myself and I'll come visit you ladies every day. What's wrong, Bloom? The high-level ninja inquired. You're leaving already, even though we just met you. Would you be able to stay for the dance at least one more night? Asked Bloom. After pondering for a few minutes, Naruto turned to confront Bloom. After noticing Bloom's happiness, Naruto remarked, Okay, I'll go to the dance, which somehow made him smile as well. All right, that's resolved. We can prepare for the dance now. What will you be wearing, Naruto? Stella inquired. This, the boy said, gesturing to his ninja clothing. That? Why? As Naruto deadpanned. Because it's the only clothes I have. Before remembering something crucial, Bloom chuckled a little. Folks. The human fairy rose from the ground and said, I don't have a dress, and the dance is a few hours away. Well, now is the ideal time to go shopping. I'm making sure all of my friends look their best for the dance. Stella added, taking out another credit card. Well, Stella, are you certain about this? A worried nerd asked. Yes. Consider this a way to repay you for protecting us from those witches, Stella retorted. As he left the room with the females, beads of sweat formed around the boy's face. Okay, let's go, Naruto remarked. I hope this isn't similar to Sakura's shopping. Town, after a few hours. To the horror of the latter, who was reminded of Sakura's shopping nightmare, the fairies and ninjas spent hours walking from store to store in search of outfits for Bloom and Naruto. When Bloom found a dress, nearly everyone disagreed, with the exception of the boy, who thought she looked good in each one. As for the ninja, they found a match for him: dark blue dress pants, a white buttoned shirt, a light blue tie, and a dark blue coat. It's getting late and we still haven't found a dress for you, Bloom, replied Stella. You all need to go get ready. I'll remain and keep searching, Bloom declared. Then Naruto moved to stand next to her and said, I'll stay with you and help out. Okay, don't do anything else, you two, Musa said as he left, the others laughing and making fun of Naruto and Bloom, who blushed a little. Ignorant of Bloom's flush, Naruto remarked, Come on, let's go, as the latter shook her blush off. Bloom responded, Right, come on, and the two of them hurried to several stores, causing a mess as they looked for the ideal dress for Bloom. In the meantime, in Alfea, the girls were checking themselves out in their dresses in their separate rooms. Returning with Bloom and Naruto. We should get going, it's only a few minutes until the dance starts, Naruto said, pointing to the clock behind him. Eventually, he and Bloom discovered a store that was having a deal on all of their clothing, and they were able to purchase the dress that the red-haired girl liked. Oh, we will be really late. With a sense of fear, Bloom remarked, I don't think we'll make it in time. After soothing the redhead, the lad said, Don't worry, we'll make it. With lovely red hair, Naruto said, Hop onto my back. What? Bloom inquired. After a moment of hesitation, Bloom relented and got on Naruto's back, blushing as he touched her friend's strong chest. Get on my back, we'll be there in seconds, Naruto answered. All right, are you prepared? You might take a deep breath, the blonde advised his passenger, who obeyed. Naruto closed his eyes and concentrated on his destination, and the two vanished in a yellow flash. A short while later, the otherworldly warrior was perched atop a building next to the clock, surveying the surroundings. The trail terminated here, but the origin leads back to Alfea, and he was just here. As he vanished into black smoke and made his way to his target's location, the warrior declared, I'll find you and bring you to my master. Naruto's Alfea room. In a yellow flash, Naruto and Bloom emerged, the former stumbling to his feet and the latter slipping off his back and landing on her back. "How did we return to your chamber, Woe?" Bloom inquired. "I actually used one of my skills for the first time." As he assisted Bloom in standing up, Naruto pointed to the formula that was close to his feet and said, "It enables me to travel at high speed to anywhere in an instant, and it had to have this to work." "Whoa, that's incredible. You put it when?" "Just last night." "How many skills do you possess?" "I apologize, but it's a secret." "You'll find out soon," Naruto said, causing Bloom to sulk. "You ought to change in your room." As his companion approached the door and opened it, he paused and turned to Naruto, saying, "You don't want to keep everybody waiting." "I appreciate your assistance. It was quite meaningful." Bloom smiled. "You're welcome. For what purpose are buddies there?" The ninja was about to change his clothes when he opened the window, sensing something outside with his negative emotion sensing ability, but there was nothing there. I have a feeling that something is going to happen tonight," Naruto replied with his own smile before the red hair turned around and closed the door. The room of Bloom. "Hey Kiko, I have something. It's too long, but if I have some scissors then I can make it work," Bloom said, searching for them without success before using her magic to cut it. Then she heard something outside, turned to see the red fountain boys coming, smelled something burning, and saw her dress on fire. She was able to extinguish it shortly after. Bloom was irate as she walked out of her room and Kiko to find a pair of scissors. "Darn it, any time that you need something, you can't find it," she grumbled. Below in the tunnels, Icy held a flashlight in front of her, while Stormy held another flashlight behind her. "I didn't know that we'd be walking, these heels are pinching my feet," Darcy stated, carrying a map. "Once we have the ring and rule magics, you can have chariots to take you anywhere," Icy responded. "Please tell that we're there yet," Darcy moaned. Stormy pointed out that you were the one with the map. As Darcy said, "Oh, right, well, we're almost there." The hallways of Althea. "I can't find a pair of scissors at a magic school," Bloom, still irritated, continued. "This is really absurd." Then she heard something coming through one of the side doors. What was that? Bloom began to descend the stairs when she heard voices. "I believe we are extremely close." As she and her sisters arrived at the stairs, Darcy said, "The door is just up ahead." "Oh no," Bloom whispered. "It's those witches." As soon as she spotted them and bolted up the stairs before they noticed her, she ran to the other side of the corridor, where the witches proceeded down the hallway, using Darcy's magic sense to find the boys' gifts while Bloom followed them without noticing. Darcy said, "Down the hall and make a right." After discovering the boys' gifts, the sisters and their unwelcome follower decided to curse it with snake rats. After the spell was finished, they departed. Icy made an ice portal on the wall, and the tricks left through it. "Those princesses won't know what bit them," she said. Bloom responded, "I've got to warn the others." And she slipped away to the ballroom to do just that. Outside the ballroom with the tricks, Icy crouched in front of her sisters as the three of them huddled behind a few bamboo trees, saying, "I can't wait to see the snake rats." "How long will it take for the fairies to start throwing up?" Icy said, turning back to face Darcy. "It will only take a few seconds with just one taste." Within the ballroom. When Bloom arrived, the ballroom was crowded with pupils from both institutions. She was searching for her companions. Bloom then tiptoed across the dance floor, trying to avoid drawing undesired attention from anyone asking, "Oh, where are they?" However, when she struck someone in the back with her head, especially Brandon, that didn't happen. Bloom said to the taller boy, "Hey." Brandon remarked, I was looking for you. You were? Then, with trepidation, Brandon placed his left hand behind his head. The anxious hero in training said, Hey, would you like to dance? Bloom responded, Yeah, for sure, as she sprinted past the boy, confounding him and making him reconsider. When she finally located her pals, she exclaimed, Hey, girls! She paused and gasped for air as she attracted their attention. What took you so long? Was the first question posed by Tecna. Flora smiled and closed her eyes, asking, What's the matter? The girls then relocated to the passageways, away from inquisitive eyes, and waited for Bloom to explain the Trix's scheme involving the snake rats. The tech fairy wiped her chin and said, Snake rats? Tecna raised her left hand and said, Let me consult my database. A green light emitted from her open palm, revealing a little black creature that resembled a rat. Snake rats, venomous swamp creatures which cause projectile vomiting from one bite. Gross. Ew! Shouted Stella. I know why they're doing this. Those witches are jealous of us. They wish they had a chance with the Fountain Boys. Bloom corrected her best friend on the witch's intentions, saying, Well, actually, they're not after the boys at all. They're after your ring, Stella. We have to do something. Before coming up with an idea, Musa struck a contemplative position. It's cool. We can handle this. We'll just go back to the dorm to get the ring right now. It's too late. Look! Flora exclaimed, gesturing to the ballroom where a chest containing snake rat eggs had been brought in by 2 Fountain students. The girls appeared terrified. No snake rats, Musa said. Well, responded Bloom hastily. They said the snake rats will hatch from inside the eggs. With her hands outstretched, Stella exclaimed, We need a counterspell and fast! Form a circle and focus on your Winx and link our powers together. The girls were able to successfully cast the counter magic and return the eggs to their initial forms after focusing their powers collectively. When one of the ball girls opened an egg and a golden butterfly emerged, it served as their proof. Oh, that was exhausting, Tecna remarked, appearing rather ill with the others. Soon after, one of the Fountain heroes gave them another snake rat egg, and Flora used a spell to give the Trix a small welcome gift of their own. Bloom, the redhead said, glancing at Flora, who was grinning. You ought to put on your dress right away. Oh, right. I'll see you guys lat dash. Bloom paused as she surveyed the ballroom, where the Earth Fairy had the females confused. Have you girls seen Nerd around? Stella said. Actually, no, we haven't. Turning to face the other females. You ladies? Musa, Tecna, and Flora shook their heads. With a glance at Bloom, the Sun Fairy said, Nope. Bloom said, Oh, with a hint of sadness before brushing it off. Well, I'll be back. See you girls on the floor. Bloom departed from her friends and got ready to get ready in her room. After a few minutes with Nerdo. With his eyes closed and his breathing quiet, the blonde Jinchuriki sat in a meditative pose. Since he hasn't changed out of his ninja gear, his dance attire was spread out flat on his bed. He chose to meditate in order to relax because he was a little anxious, though he is unsure of the cause. He has found meditation to be incredibly calming ever since he discovered and perfected Sage Mode, and it occasionally enables an experienced warrior to be at ease. Nerda. Hey, Nine Beast. What's up? Nerda asked as he opened his eyes. The ninja got to his feet, cracked his neck, and then extended his limbs and legs. Nerda arched an eyebrow at this, asking, How long are you going to stall? What do you mean stall? Nine Beasts moaned at the boy's naivete. The fox chuckled a little when he realized. You know what I mean. Since you returned from that horrible shopping spree, you haven't put on that suit, which Nerdo didn't like at all. I think you're nervous about something. Nida scoffed after raising a brow. Yeah, right. I'm not nervous about anything. Or someone. Nida quickly crossed his arms and said, I don't know what ya mean. Missing the fox's angry. Bingo. Then, outside the dorms, he felt a surge of power. Saved by the bell! A very powerful bell! The ninja exclaimed as they bolted from the room, flickering into the night to reach the source of strength. Beyond the ballroom. When Nida emerged atop a tree, he saw the Trix standing 10 yards away from Bloom. The Trix was dressed in a glittery light blue halter top, a matching sparkly light blue miniskirt, a matching color short underneath the skirt, and light blue ankle boots. She also wears a little golden tiara with 3 rounded points at the top of her head, wings on her back, and light blue wrist bands that resemble gloves across her arms from elbow to wrist. As the red lightning leaves her body and she raises her fists as though she's prepared to fight, Bloom exclaims, Phew, I knew I could do it! Nida whistled a little. Bloom and the Trix were taken aback as the kid vanished and then reappeared in front of them. Man, she looks cute in that outfit. Her power is unbelievable, but she lacks experience to use it. I think I reintroduced myself again. Nurdu! A relieved Bloom cried. You! The sisters cried. The Jinchuriki looked at Bloom over his right shoulder. You finally unleashed your power. Congratulations, Bloom, but I should handle these 3 for now. But I dash. Nida said. I'll handle them. He then began to approach the 3 witches, who were still in disbelief over the human's unexpected appearance. What? Said Darcy as she stopped Icy from fighting the person after she shook the feeling. Stormy agreed with Darcy when she stated, We already have the ring. There's no need to battle him, for now. There will be time to make him pay for humiliating us at the alley. Icy gave the blonde boy with the odd headband a fierce look, and then a grin spread across her face. Icy snapped her fingers and the sisters vanished from view, saying, You're right. We're done here. Nida moaned a little because he didn't have to battle, but when he looked around, Bloom had transformed back into her regular self. You okay? Bloom said. Yeah, I'm fine. I thought you weren't going to come. To which the ninja raised an eyebrow. Why'd you think that? Because I didn't see you at the ball. Oh, Nurdu said, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. I was just meditating at the time. I was about to change when I felt the power surge, and when I arrived here, I sensed it coming from you. The boy's explanation startled Bloom. Really? Nurdu asked, giving her a nod. It took several minutes for Stella, Musa, Tekna, and Flora to emerge and discover the 2 outside. Flora said, How have you 2 been out here? Nurdu gave a shoulder shrug. A few minutes. Stella snickered. Something funny, Stella? Nope, nothing funny at all. Right, Bloom? Stella winked subtly at the redhead, who blushed slightly when she understood the blonde woman's meaning. When Nurdu raised an eyebrow and turned to face Bloom, he became aware of the shrub, but his thoughts were elsewhere. Bloom's blush deepened as he placed the back of his right palm on his forehead, asking, Bloom, you okay? You have a fever or something? 'Cause your face is red. He heard the females giggling and turned back to face them. What's funny? Come on, don't leave me out. Flora closed her eyes and smiled as she shook her head. Nothing, nothing. Nurdu shrugged and continued to describe Bloom's initial metamorphosis and the Trix's acquisition of Stella's ring. Bloom remarked, I'm sorry about your ring, Stella. Dejectedly. Musa grinned and replied, Don't worry. We already took care of it. Really, how? Nurdu inquired. Stella pointed to Nurdu and Bloom, who exchanged glances before turning back to face the blonde woman. Let's leave it at that. Now we got a dance to go and you 2 need to change, she remarked. Without any of the girls noticing, the group of adolescents continued to make their way back inside the building until Naruto stopped a few inches from the entrance. After that, Naruto turned around and left the building, placing a good space between himself and the many unsuspecting guests at the ball. I know you are there. I sensed you back in town a little while ago. Show yourself, he said in a calm but authoritative tone. The child remained silent, keeping his eyes on a swivel to observe his surroundings. The person who had been following him finally materialized in front of him, standing 15 yards away. A big guy. What's with the black attire? Does he have a fetish or something? Like you're the one to talk, kid. That orange outfit you wear is a disgrace to all ninja attire in our world and possibly all other worlds. Naruto got a tick mark on his forehead. Hey, don't trample on the orange, all right, he started to say, but the man in front of him interrupted him. So you are my target. You look so much like him, and you wear the same symbol on that headband of yours. But those whisker marks in your energy level tells a different story. What his adversary said confused Naruto. The tall guy nodded. Wait, you mean someone from my world came here? To Althea. What was his name? Naruto said. Before I tell you, my name is Zorak and we never knew what his real name was, but we do know the moniker he was given back in your room. He was the yellow flash of hidden leaf. The man mocked in response. As they received the new information from Zorak, who chose to exploit his opponent's downed guard and surge at him, Naruto's and Nine Beasts' eyes widened in disbelief. Naruto! Focus! Exclaimed the Nine Beast once he had recovered his calm. The lad jolted out of his daze just in time to dodge Zorak's attack, and he returned the favor with an uppercut that struck the man's chin and sent him reeling. Naruto yelled, That'll teach you for attacking your opponent off guard, before launching himself at him. TCH. Zorak discreetly called the superhuman, on the defensive due to its startling strength and speed. He felt his arms and legs sting from the contact as he barely bobbed, weaved, and dodged each of Naruto's quick punches and kicks. Zorak used his left forearm to parry another blow, saying, What gives? He's faster than the yellow flash. And his punches really packs a wallop. After spotting a gap, Naruto took advantage and kicked Zorak in the chest, followed by a right roundhouse kick to the side and finally, an upper left kick to the jaw, which sent Zorak flying. He was about to launch another attack when he noticed Zorak flying, something that very few people in his world have done. No fair! Naruto sulked as Zorak drew his two blades, which were surrounded by a reddish-black aura of brilliance. That's new. Wah dash! He felt something in his pocket and took it out, revealing a tiny, seemingly delicate weapon that resembled ice in his palm. The weapon asked Naruto, You want to play against this guy and his toys? The weapon gave him a squeak of indignation and then lay flat on Naruto's palm, which he took and held tightly. Gradually, the weapon's size and shape transformed into a staff, and it began to shine white. Naruto grumbled. Huh! A staff? I didn't want a staff. I wanted a sword or a kunai. Not a staff. Zorak was a little taken aback by the unusual weapon's capacity to transform into other weapons. In fact, Zorak appeared interested in this. The man didn't take long to fly down to Naruto with his dual-wielded swords flying, hoping to surprise him once more. Perhaps this weapon will be a great welcoming trophy for my master when he is released. Naruto, however, was determined not to be duped again. In order to stop the double attack, Naruto swiftly moved his new staff horizontally, pushing Zorak away before turning and striking Zorak in the face with his staff. The child heard a crack and realized that one mean hit was the result of his power plus the extra momentum from spinning. Gah! Zorak exclaimed as he staggered backwards, discovering that his eyes were hazy and his ears were ringing from the impact. While the latter was spinning his new staff over his head, he noticed the young adolescent standing in front with a smile on his face. Why do you not take this seriously? I am one of the Warrior King's great warriors. Do not take me lightly! Zorak yelled in frustration at the teenager's lack of seriousness. The child suddenly became serious, which caused Zorak to swallow. Oh, so you're one of these Warrior King's great warriors? Naruto sneered. If this is what you can do, then beating the rest of you will be nothing. As his opponent was desperately searching for the ninja, the blonde Jinchuriki vanished with remarkable speed, surprising him. As for you wanting me to take this seriously, you just got it. Looking for me? With the intention of severing the boy's head, Zorak swiftly whirled around with his swords. The big guy dropped his swords as he bent over in agony, but the ninja wasn't finished yet. Naruto just avoided the strike and responded with an inside right punch to the stomach while his staff was in his left hand. Then, using his superior power, the young Uzumaki seized Zorak's hair and held him in the air. With the former gazing at the warrior, Naruto and Zorak faced each other. After saying, "You wanted me to be serious, this is me being serious." Naruto then executed a Rasengan and with minimal effort slammed it into the Zorak's chest. A few seconds later, the ninja released his assault, which launched Zorak with the chakra sphere on his chest into the air. As he watched his opponent be driven into the outskirts of Althea by his hallmark technique, Naruto moaned. After standing there for a short while, the ninja turned around and struck something with his foot. When he looked down, he saw Zorak's two swords and a sword symbol in his fist. Before removing a scroll from his hip bag and opening it, Naruto remarked, I should take these and show them to Ms. Faraganda. She probably has a good idea who are the warrior kings. The attending adolescents were unaware of what had happened when Naruto returned to the ballroom after sealing the swords within the scroll and placing it back into his bag. Within the ballroom, Althea and Red Fountain students were enjoying themselves when they noticed Bloom walking into the room. The garment had been altered to reveal her belly, and she had blue ribbons around her wrists. Despite her anxiety, Bloom continued to approach her friends, who were astounded by her appearance. Bloom inquired, "How do I look?" before Flora clutched her arms. "Beautiful as a spring flower," smiled Flora in response. With eagerness, the human fairy said, "Give me the scoop, guys. What did I miss?" "Well, dash!" A girl's happy shriek cut her off. Along with the other female students, Bloom and her pals were taken aback by what they saw as they turned to see where the girl was. They discovered Naruto wearing the blue blazer and jeans that Stella had purchased for him. The headband that had been keeping his spiky blonde hair at bay had fallen off. The girls giggled at the boy's attractiveness as they realized Naruto had discovered them and was approaching them. "He's cute. He's hot. Is he single? He's mine!" As he passed the gals and eventually found Bloom and his new pals, Naruto reddened a little. "Hey ladies! How's it hanging?" "Nothing much," Stella said cheerfully. "Really?" Naruto asked as he turned to face Bloom and was taken aback by the redhead's beauty. "Wow, Bloom! You look amazing!" Bloom reddened somewhat. In accord, Naruto nodded. "You think so? Nerd?" "Yeah?" Bloom remarked, somewhat saddened. "Thanks for helping me against those witches. But it's too bad I didn't get to try my powers." "Hey, it's no problem. You and the girls are my friends and I'd do anything to protect you all," Naruto said with pride. The blonde smiled and nodded as the females asked in shock, "Really?" A slow dance song started playing at that point, and Stella used the occasion to introduce her freshly developed strategy. Bloom fell after she shoved him forward, but Naruto grabbed her before she touched the ground. The two youngsters reddened slightly as they became aware of how close their faces were to one another. Before he extended his hand in front of Bloom, Naruto swiftly assisted her in regaining her equilibrium. Nervously, with the blush still visible, Naruto inquired, "Would you like to dance despite I don't know how to?" Bloom glanced at his hand, then grinned and accepted it. The youngster followed Bloom to the center of the dance floor. The girl told the blonde to place his right hand on the middle of her back and his left hand on her right, saying, "Don't worry. This is simple." He was slow dancing with a pretty female before Naruto realized it, which made him grin, which made the redhead smile too. Others would notice it, sneering at Naruto, but the teenagers were unaware that a certain long blonde fountain kid was staring at them. Before smashing his drink, Sky gripped it and asked, "Who is that guy?" "I've never seen him before," Tim remarked while adjusting his spectacles. Crossing his arms and grinning, Riven exclaimed, "Oh man, he took her from you. Burn!" In response to Riven's jest, Sky snarled, "Shut up! I'll find out who he is, one way or another." Sky continued to observe Naruto and Bloom slowly dancing on the dance floor while grinning and joking at one another. He is able to hear and feel everything. The chirping of birds as they soar across the wide open spaces above him, and the V-shaped shadows made by all the creatures confined by gravity as they go past. Man, this is peaceful. Can't wait until dash. Oh. Hey, watch where you're hammering that thing! A Naruto clone yelled while massaging his toe. One of the second Naruto clones retorted, "Well, you need to watch where you're going." "You looking for trouble?" "Trouble just found you." "Oh, yeah?" "Yeah." With a moan, Naruto opened his eyes and looked over his shoulder to see two of his shadow clones engaged in combat in a tiny cloud of smoke, their hands and legs jerking in and out. His shadow clone's construction crew has been putting in a lot of effort to create his new house, and it appears that the utilities are almost finished. With a sigh, Naruto rose and moved toward the building site of his new residence. He observed his 30 clones preparing to install the roof, which is the final and most crucial component of any building structure. Naruto remarked, "Thanks Kami and Mom." Then he saw a clone approaching him wearing a red bandana. The bandana was worn by the clone as a symbol of his position as construction supervisor. "We're almost done here, boss. Now as for the furniture," the clone remarked, stopping in front of the original. The clone hesitated when its creator raised his hand. Naruto responded, "Don't worry about that. Ms. Farragonda told me that she has some furniture in Alfea. I'm going to send a clone to retrieve them." In a worried manner. "Are you bothered by what Ms. Farragonda told you, about the warrior kings?" "Yeah, well, it's a beautiful day right now and I think I'll walk in the forest, perhaps meditate on a tall tree. Once you guys are finished, one of you disperse and wait for 10 seconds between each other. I don't want to have a headache like last time." Naruto nodded before he leaped to a tree and began hopping from one to another. Naruto remembered the information from the old fairy as he hopped from tree to tree through the extensive networks of plants and trees. Rewind, the ball night, 2 hours later. The office of Farragonda. After the party finished, Ms. Farragonda, Griselda, and Naruto were in the former's private quarters, and the latter bid the girls farewell as they returned to their dorms. Naruto stood in front of Farragonda's desk, holding a scroll in his right hand, while the two elderly fairies stood behind it. "Well, what is it, Mr. Uzumaki? It's late and I want to sleep," Griselda, who was now irritable, remarked, lifting her glasses to massage her eyes. This was in agreement with Farragonda. Indeed. The fairies were shocked to learn that Naruto had been attacked tonight. "I'm sorry, but I don't think this can wait," he said, taking a breath before he released it. Aware of her grogginess, Griselda questioned, "What? When?" Farragonda also went to full alert and became serious. "Explain everything." The two fairies' abrupt shift of attitude made Naruto swallow a bit, but he went on to describe everything that had happened that evening, including the Trix's attack and the development of Bloom's abilities. He even put the two swords that had formerly belonged to Zorak on the desk once he had opened them. Both Faragonda and Griselda had open mouths and surprised, scared looks when Nuda ended his explanation. Ms. Faragonda? Ms. Griselda? You two still here with me? Why you defeated Myomatan with ease? Griselda questioned, seeming surprised. Myomatan? Is that what he and the three warrior kings are? Nud asked, raising an eyebrow as he heard the word. Ms. Faragonda's shock was all he needed to validate his theory. You know who they are. Don't you, both of you? With the moon clearly visible in the sky, Ms. Faragonda completely turned to face the window. What I'm about to tell you, Nerdu, must never leave this office unless the danger imposes on any of the students here, at Red Fountain or Cloud Tower. Then you will share this information, she said, taking a deep breath while still facing the windows. The headmaster of Althea then turned to face the blonde toad sage, who nodded at her. When Nerdu said, You can trust me. I won't share this information without your permission, the old woman smiled at him. Very well. Long ago, after all the realms were given life by the great dragons since the beginning of time, there was a race that was born alongside the rest of magical creatures today. They were a warrior race, which excelled in hand-to-hand combat and all arts of weaponry. They had unbelievable durability along with strength, speed, stamina, and vitality. They once served as protectors for all the realms and magical creatures before our ancestors learned how to use magic. They were the Myomatan, Ms. Faragonda said as she settled into a comfortable chair with Griselda standing next to her. They were the inspiration for the Red Fountain School for Heroism and Bravery, since the first headmaster was the only one that the Myomatan allowed to train outside of their own people. Nerda was taken aback. He saw the disciple fairy stare and realized it was time to close it. Really? Hopefully they don't see those uniforms today, because uniforms are not supposed to be tight. And let me tell Dash, she said. Sorry, please continue. In a contemplative attitude, Faragonda said, Yes, now where was I? You talked about Red Fountain's first headmaster being the first one trained by the Myomatan. Faragonda gave a small laugh. Thank you, Nerda. Pleasure. We magical creatures kept in touch with the Myomatan, and eventually agreed they changed their status from protectors to law enforcers and magics. Years went by and peace was prosperous and present in all of the realms until that fateful day. Inquiring, Nerda said, What day? The birth of the trio brothers. They were heirs to the royal family of the Myomatan. The youngest, Ryga, excelled in hand-to-hand combat and is the fastest Myomatan. The middle brother, Argo, has the highest endurance and stamina. After that, Nerda waited while Faragonda paused for a long time, which the blonde ninja interpreted as a show of uncertainty and worry for the older trio brother. At last the elderly headmaster began again. But they're nothing compared to him. The oldest brother, Raisin, is the strongest of his brothers. His strength, speed, stamina, and power make the rest of his people look like weaklings. But that is not the worst part, Griselda remarked, leaving Nerda perplexed. Jinchuriki said, It's not. Then what is? The brothers discovered an innate ability that was long forgotten in their race. They could absorb a mystical energy that is present in the ground and the air and all the realms. This energy seems to enhance their power to greater heights. Nerda touched his chin with his thumb. He cleared his throat before continuing. So this transformation gives the brothers a power boost. Does it give them the ability to fly as well? That sounds a lot like Sage Mode. No, that's an ability all Myomatan already possess, but their flight capability far exceeds anything or any creature when they transformed as you say it. Before returning to his topic, Nerda muttered something about something else. So I assume after the brothers grew up, they decided to lead their people against the magical creatures? He asked. Farragonda gave the boy's query a sorrowful nod. Unfortunately, yes. They believed that we magical creatures had tricked their people into slavery in the form of being our law enforcers, and so led a revolt with the help of the ancestral witches along with other parties. Other parties? Like who? Asked Naruto, raising an eyebrow as he saw Farragonda shake her head. I'm sorry, but that's for another time. Now, as I was saying, the now called warrior kings led their people against us. At first, we held up against their might, but eventually the tables were turned on us. So many magical creatures, friends, family, everyone you associated with had fought against the Myomatan and fell in battle. Griselda replied. It looked like it was over for us, in a tone that carried a trace of anxiety. Until he arrived, the man who wears the same symbol like you do appeared out of nowhere, literally. The man known to his people as the Yellow Flash of the Hidden Leaf arrived at one of the battle sites and saw the horrifying actions of Myomatan slaying innocents. So he intervened the battle with powers unlike anything in this world and defeated the Myomatan brigade with ease. Farragonda said as she removed a tissue from her desk and cleaned her nose. He was so fast. 1 minute, he was at this spot, and the next, he was way over there. Griselda explained, supporting her claim with her fingers. As Naruto listened to Farragonda, he thought proudly, "Heh, that's my dad!" We gained a powerful ally that day, and news of his appearance, powers, and later victories spread out through magics, giving our people and all magical creatures hope for victory and peace. Griselda interrupted while wiping her spectacles, saying, But his victory also gained the warrior king's attention, and they vowed to crush the Yellow Flash. So they confronted him with thoughts of easy victory within their grasp. 9 beasts snarled in agreement, and Naruto thought, bad mistake. However, the Yellow Flash gave the kings a great challenge since they never encountered a being of his caliber, and eventually defeated them. In the aftermath, the Yellow Flash used some sort of sealing magic to seal away the warrior kings and their armies in their ancestral castle, but not before Raisin declaring revenge on him. After their defeat, the ancestral witches and the other parties retreated and disappeared since they could not defeat him and his current level of power. After that day, the Yellow Flash was praised by the people of Magix and was revered as a legend for not only his unique powers, but his kind and determined personality. Farragonda said with a stifled. He asked us for help to return to his dimension as he had a wife and they were expecting a child. Although Naruto was taken aback, he took care to hide it. This happened before my birth? We obliged, but the work was excruciatingly exhausting. It took several months, but we finally managed to send him home, and that was the last time we ever saw him, said Farragonda while looking at Naruto with a grin. I thank you for bringing this information to us. Now that we know the 3 warrior kings are awakening, we can coordinate a defensive plan with the other realms. Naruto said, It's no problem. I felt like it was the right thing to do, before using his hand to stifle a yawn. Well, I've kept you ladies up late as it is, so I'm going to go and let you sleep. The boy turned to face the door. When Farragonda asked a private inquiry, Naruto halted as he opened the door. Naruto, do you know who is the Yellow Flash? After a bit, Naruto spoke while glancing over his shoulder. Yes, he is my father. The Uzumaki Jinchuriki left a happy Farragonda, who was pleased with the boy's response, and a staring Griselda in the chamber as he left. Naruto moved away from Alfea the following morning and took up residence in the area where his future home will tower tall in the forest. Flashback termination. As he leaped from tree to tree and explored the huge natural areas surrounding him in the new world, Naruto laughed a little. In the forest somewhere? Something's crawling on my leg! Exclaimed Stella. The girls laughed when Musa said, Whatever happened to mud does wonders for your skin? Along with the other female students, Bloom and the girls went on a field trip with their nature lecturer, who stressed the importance of listening to nature and refraining from using magic while working on their task. To Stella's dismay, they were also dressed in safari gear. Tekna was ready to cast the spell when Bloom interrupted her, saying, "It's probably a subterranean sludge slug. Nothing like a simple step-by spell can do the trick." "Tekna, no! We can't use our magic. We must listen to the voice of nature," Bloom responded. Flora stated, "Bloom's right. We should all close our eyes and listen," as the girls closed their eyes. However, rather than listening, they smelled something, which Stella pointed out. When the girls smelled it, they screamed in disgust. "Smells like old socks," Stella exclaimed. "It's some kind of gas. Let's bounce," Musa said as soon as she noticed a bubble on the swamp's surface. When Flora and Musa yelled an angry, "Take cover!" the girls fled the marsh in a hurry and hid behind a log, looking for air bubbles on the surface. Stella inquired, "What is that?" as Bloom used her right hand to pick up a medium-sized stick. Bloom tossed the stick and it struck one of the air bubbles, saying, "Let's find out." The gas burst, releasing a gray-silver gas that transformed a tree to stone. "Get down, everybody!" Tekna was disappointed to be wrong and said, "I guess my information was incorrect." But Bloom instantly made her feel better. "Don't worry about it, Tekna," Bloom responded. Stella made her companions and herself laugh at the joke when she added, "Yeah, otherwise we would literally be statuettes." In the air later, Riven was piloting a red hoverjet carrying red fountain kids across the skies. When Brandon noticed Timmy coming in from behind, he was in control. "How's our prisoner?" Brandon inquired. Before turning to face the long blonde-haired person who appeared to be very disoriented, Timmy remarked, "Grouchy but good." The prince did not respond when he asked, "Prince Sky, everything all right?" On the night of the dance, the youthful blonde prince told Tim and Riven who he really was, with the exception of Brandon, who had already consented to change his identity with his friend. Riven gave a small laugh. "He's still upset about Whiskers stealing his dance with that redhead," Sky remarked. "Hey, her name is Bloom and I'm not upset, not entirely," as he pointed to Tim from his chair. "Have you found anything about him?" Tim gave a headshake. The prince stroked his chin suspiciously, saying, Nothing at all. There are no records of any kind. It's like he doesn't exist anywhere." Brandon tried to calm Sky's curiosity with learning more about the enigmatic whiskered lad by saying, "Come on, Sky. The guy doesn't look like trouble, nor does he want to cause any or looking for. Besides, Bloom seemed to know him pretty well." Just as Sky was about to protest, the jet jolted as though something had struck it. "Are we hit?" Riven remarked. "If you knew anything, Prince Sky, then you would know that nothing is showing up at the sensors," as he pulled the jet under control. However, they were struck once more, and this time they dropped and crashed to the earth below. When the guys heard a shout coming their way, they were able to escape the ship. Bloom and the girls went to them, and she asked, "Are you guys okay?" Before the airplane hit the ground, they witnessed it releasing smoke. As Brandon moved to a distance as though he had discovered something, Sky said, "Yeah, we're fine. But what are you guys doing here?" "We're on a field trip for nature class," Bloom responded. "So what about you guys? What are you doing around above the forest?" Brandon discovered the breach in the hull and footsteps in the mud. Guys, the troll escaped," he said. Riven was going to address Brandon by his true name, but she pledged to keep Sky's and Brandon's identities a secret. "Prince Sky!" "You're right. He shouldn't have gotten far with the addle shackles. They work like tranquilizers," replied Brandon. Brandon brought out a pair of shackles that appeared to be designed for an elephant and said, "You mean these?" Then, From the trees close by, the fairies and specialists heard rustling, and the latter group pulled out their phantom weapons. The voice said, "Oh, great! It's those red fountain guys!" And the girls recognized it right once. Nerda? Flora inquired as the well-known blonde, whiskered figure leaped from the tree and turned to face the girls, grinning and saluting them. "Hello, ladies!" The girls cheered. "Nerda!" when they saw their pal again. The lads' faces were strange as they gazed at the girls. Riven said, "Nerda? What kind of name is that?" Nerda scolded Riven as he approached the group and halted in front of the females. "An awesome name, thank you very much," he said. Stella informed him about the field assignment, saying, "So ladies, what are you guys doing out here?" he said. Very interesting." Bloom questioned, "What about you? What are you doing out here?" At this point, everyone listened to the boy's explanation, especially Sky. "I was simply walking around here. The nature here is beautiful, not to mention the incredible energy that flows through it and dash." Flora gasped. "You can feel nature?" Before returning to his topic, Nudo continued, "As I was answering your question, Bloom, I was in the area when I saw that floating thingy fall from the sky." He pointed to the fallen aircraft and nodded. "I can sense its power everywhere. The ground, the sky. It's peaceful." "Cool," Musa grinned. Nerda smiled and said, "Thank you. I tend to impress people at times." "Not all people," thinks Sky as he glares at Nerda while the latter was speaking with the girls, especially with Bloom. His expression quickly transformed to one of kindness. "I've never seen you before. My name is Brandon." Nerdu Uzumaki." Prince Sky, Timmy, and finally Riven and Amo met the Jinchuriki. Tim remarked uneasily, "It's good to meet you, Nerda. You were quite a mystery back at the ball." "Ukakei," Nerda said before he noticed the jet's hole. "What broke out?" he asked. "A troll," Tekna retorted. Nerda turned around and looked at Tekna in disbelief. "A what?" Stella closed her nose and muttered, "Trolls. Tall, mean, hairy, and really stinky," to emphasize her point. Stella and Tekna sighed at the boy's denseness, and Nerda blinked a few times, saying, "I don't get it. He is, after all, from a parallel Earth in another dimension." Riven swore and jerked his thumb at himself. "Well, we got to get going. You girls just go to your fairy class and you, Blondie, go back wherever you came from. Just leave this to the heroes," he said. With smirks on their faces, Stella and Nerd asked, "Well, when will they get here / where are they?" The two blondes giggled and gave each other high fives. "Oh, double snap!" Musa joined in their laughter. "Listen, you dash!" Sky interrupted Riven as he was going to curse at Stella. "Sky," Brandon remarked. "Come on, that's enough. We got to go." The specialists then set out to find their missing Pock Master, leaving the fairies and humans behind. Bloom asked, "Do you think we should follow them?" Stella said, "Please, after the two that Riven gave to us?" With a raised eyebrow, Flora remarked, "Yeah, he was rude. I think we should get back to our assignment and let Riven deal with it." "Flora's right, Bloom. If Riven wants to get eaten, then I say bon appetit, right?" the Sun Fairy asked in jest as Stella turned to face Bloom. The Sun Fairy was chastised by Flora, who said, "That's not what I meant, Stella." The girls murmured about it until they heard Nerda say, "Did you guys notice the hole in the ship?" Tekna said, "The parameters around it indicate a blast came from outside." Nerda remarked, "Tekna's right," drawing the female's attention to himself. His hand was close to the ship, as though he were inspecting it. It is consistent with an attack from outside, specifically a long-range attack. With a note of worry in her voice, Stella said, You mean that there is someone out here, with us? Flora responded, Well, I think we should investigate, as she and the others turned to face the forest's deeper area. This idea didn't sit well with Stella. She gestured toward the general area of the woodland and said, Investigate? INT there? The girls were taken aback by Ndu's charisma as he yelled, Come on, Stella! Where's your sense of adventure? How's this? I'll tag along and investigate with you girls. Really? Inquired Bloom, who was now ecstatic. Ndu grinned and nodded. With a raised hand, Musa said, Yep. Any questions? Yes, Musa? Do you have any idea where we're going? Ndu briefly assumed a contemplative attitude. I have a general idea, but that's the point of adventure, right? Plus, you girls look like you need excitement on this assignment. The girls all said, Yeah, save Tekna, who didn't appear to be feeling particularly at ease just now. Onwards, my fellow adventurers! Ndu joyfully cried as he led the girls into the thick woodland. Hello, nature. Could use your guidance now. Tekna moaned as she caught up to her buddies and their man leader while slowly trailing behind them. 3 of Stella's worst enemies, spiders, swamp monsters, and mud, were encountered by the party of youngsters a few minutes into the mission. Stella spat out, "Ahhh, I hate nature," as she scraped the mud off her arms. Musa remarked, "Stella, calm down. It's nature out here, you know. Everyone's bound to get dirty out here." As though it were the most obvious thing in the world. Yeah. Ndu turned to face Flora after noticing that she was staring at him. Something on your mind, Flora? He asked, gesturing for everyone to keep going as Flora was ready to say something. Earlier, you said you sensed nature's energy. How is that possible? Flora responded. Everyone was now staring at Ndu, intrigued by the boy's unusual abilities. Since you're a human. Ndu placed his hands on his head and said, "Oh, well. I learned since spirit art." The females all arched their brows in interest and bewilderment. Before slapping a fly that was floating in front of her, Bloom questioned, "Since spirit art?" Since spirit art is the art of drawing natural energy and mixing it with your own chakra and dash, Jinchuriki said, nodding before continuing. Tekna and the others were unfamiliar with the term, so they said, "I'm sorry. Chakra?" "Oh. It's another word for the life energy that resides in every living thing's body back in my world. In your girl's case, it refers to your magic inside of you and all magical beings and magics." As Tekna entered the new information on chakra and since spirit art into her database on her wrist, she concurred, saying, "A very interesting word." Flora responded, "Please continue, Ndu," as they leaped over a large log, with Ndu assisting Bloom in descending, and proceeded to trek deeper into the thicker forest. He looked over his shoulder to see the girls in awe, but none of them could match Flora's expression, whose magic is nature. As I was saying, since spirit art allows a person to draw in natural energy and mixing it with your chakra, you enter an empowered state called Sage Mode, which drastically increases the power of your spells as well as your strength, speed, stamina, durability, and perception. With a look of amusement, Ndu said, "You're surprised. I expected as much." As she grabbed her headphones, an interested Musa inquired, "Have you used it in battle?" "Yes, I have. But I only use it when I'm facing a powerful opponent or just for fun, though I doubt I'll use since spirit art anytime soon or ever," Ndu concluded. He had been questioning the strength of their race, except for the 3 warrior kings, ever since his last encounter with the apparently strong Myomatan. With a tone full of hope, Flora asked, "Could you teach me how to use since spirit art?" She believed that if she learned this new skill, her magic would become more powerful and closer to nature, much like Naruto. The boy blinked a few times because this was completely unexpected. Naruto struck a thinking position and said, how should I say this delicately? He was trying to think of the best way to respond to Flora's inquiry without offending her. He and the girls were fortunate to hear a high-pitched scream that only a girl could make. Everyone turned to stare at the blonde princess, who shook her head, asking, "Was that you again, Stella? Then who sc dash?" The high-pitched wail resumed, but it was louder and sounded more like. In other parts of the forest, Timmy called out to the heavens, "Help!" as he and his companions were captured by live vines that bound them. As Riven strives to escape his shackles, the vines hold tightens with each motion, and the same is true for Sky, Brandon, and Timmy. This irritates Riven. After letting go of the vine's amazing hold, Sky said, "Well, this is embarrassing." "I don't think this can get any worse," expressed Riven, who was frowning and dangling upside down. They were drawn in by a rustling noise, which grew worse as the fairies and their blonde guy friend came out of the bushes. Ignoring the coming vines, Naruto chuckled loudly and said, "It just got worse for you, bud." Before he knew it, the vines were surrounding his feet, and he was hanging upside down. He heard the specialists laughing. "Shut it!" Flora soothed the vines. "Everything's all right, little plants." Before they were freed, Naruto and the specialists sensed that the hold on them was loosening. With haste, the group left the forest. He was ready to take her left hand when they heard a voice behind them. Brandon approached Bloom and said, "Hey, it's good to see you again, Bloom." The fairy and specialists were so alarmed that they turned to see a smiling Naruto with his arms on the back of his head. "Why are we whispering?" they said. "You guys got scared so easily." Bloom playfully slapped the passing Naruto on the shoulder. She walked beside the ninja, unintentionally leaving an angry Sky in her wake, saying, "Don't do that." Before they started going, Naruto, the girls, and the specialists agreed. "We're still looking for the troll, right? It'd be better if we stick together. You know, strength in numbers." Riven mumbled, "Dang, man. He took your girl again." To the blonde specialist, who ignored him and moved ahead of him. "Yo, Whiskers." Looking over his shoulder, Naruto asked, "Where are you from? Which realm do you hail from?" The ninja was about to respond when he noticed the other specialists staring at him, but Stella spoke before him. The Sun Fairy exclaimed with joy, "He's from Earth!" which shocked Sky and the specialists. "But from a parallel Earth, and he has powers." As he adjusted his glasses, Timmy exclaimed, "A parallel Earth? That's impossible." Tekna gestured to Naruto. "He's the living proof, so it's not impossible." Timmy patted his head sheepishly. Sky exclaimed incredulously, "So you're human? And you have powers?" And the ninja nodded. "I've never heard of a human having abilities. The only Earth beings who have powers are the Earth Fairies." Brandon walked behind Stella, who was enjoying the company, and remarked, "Didn't you hear Stella? He's from a parallel Earth. That must mean there are more of his kind back home." Naruto pushed a vine aside and remarked, "Yep, there are more like me." Timmy asked, "What can you tell us about you and your people?" and held a gadget near his right index finger, prepared to enter new information about a new world and its inhabitants. Naruto replied, "Sure." Then he thought, "Just tell them about Neen's spirit art, Tai's spirit art, and Jen's spirit art. Plus chakra, and that's it." In the following minutes, Naruto told the specialists what he had told the girls about chakra being every living thing before going over the 3 primary skill types that he and his people practice. After a while, the group of adolescents emerged from the jungle and encountered a massive river that separates them from the opposite dry ground. Tekna confirmed Timmy's analysis when he added, There's no way we can get to the other side without the current dragging us. Brandon gestured toward the several round wood stumps that were drifting past them. How about those? Everyone turned to face the blonde specialist after glancing at the stumps and the opposite side. What? Bloom began searching for someone at that point. Where's Naruto? Over here! The fairies and specialists turned around and were awestruck at a waving Naruto who was standing on the other side of the river. Why are you just standing over there? Come on! He would have if he had known what was about to happen next. A few minutes later, the group is still traveling, and Naruto is given hell by Stella and Riven for the ninja's unintentional return to the river after saving them. Before he heard the sound that sounded nearly like music, he believed that there was no end. Aha! While adjusting his glasses, Timmy remarked, Someone's in trouble. Naruto shot him a sardonic glance. After searching the thicket, the group saw a tall, blue creature with dark blue hair encircling 3 females dressed similarly to Bloom and the other girls. Oh, so the screams of fear didn't give you a hint. Curious, the Jinchuriki said. What is that thing? Tekna assertively remarked. That is a troll, Naruto. Before realizing when she saw the troll, Bloom said, And that is Amari! About the girl with brown hair. That's the same troll who was with Canute back home. We have to save those girls or they'll turn into fairy dust. Don't worry, I have a plan, Brandon replied. Phase 1, the girls will distract the troll. When Stella heard him, she gasped. I hope the troll eats the girls isn't Phase 2. She expressed her displeasure at being involved in the scheme. Before he recalled Naruto, Sky said, Don't worry. Tim and I will pin him down while Brandon and Riven slip the shackles on him. And Naruto. He thought he would see the boy with whiskers, but he was nowhere to be seen. Where is he? Bloom started to worry about him while the group searched for him. Then his voice reached them. When the fairies and specialists turned to face him, they were taken aback by what they saw. Naruto was sitting idly on the unconscious troll's stomach. Guys? What are you doing? They said. You looking for someone? When Brandon and the others arrived at his place, he exclaimed incredulously. How? Naruto arched his eyebrow before leaping off and landing gracefully on the ground. How what? Everyone was wondering. How did you knock out the troll? The Jinchuriki pointed to the large lump on the troll's head and replied. Simple. I hit him with a punch to the head. The look on Bloom and everyone's faces, priceless. One of the girls approached him as he was ready to ask Bloom a question, and they thanked specialists for saving them quickly before they departed. Well, are they grateful? We did take too long about the plan, Sky commented, expressing disappointment. He recognized Naruto's hand when he felt it on his shoulder. The specialist was shocked by the newcomer's statement and began to question whether he had any prior battle tactics expertise. The high-level ninja smiled and said, Don't worry about it. It's good to be organized, but sometimes you have to come up with a plan while you're in stressed-out situations. Naruto pointed to the specialists and stated, Well, now we got to drag the big lug to your ship, and when I say we, I mean you guys. While the girls giggled at the expressions, the boys gaped. Riven grumbled, How come we have to drag him? Before hurling ropes at the specialists, Naruto gave a straightforward response. Because I said so. The specialists complained about the impending task in front of them, saying, Come on. It's getting late and I want to go home. Flora noticed the sunset and said, Yeah, it is getting late. Stella rubbed her arms and shuddered. And cold. Bloom, Flora, Musa, and Tekna all began to shiver at that point due to the cold. Bloom shivered and murmured, We should head back to where our class is. But then she felt something cover her upper torso and shoulders. When she saw it, she knew it was Naruto's black and orange jacket. The boy with the whiskers, wearing a black t-shirt, caught the fairy's attention. Nerd. While the blonde specialist is secretly furious, Nerda reassures her. Don't worry, Bloom. I'm not cold at all. Now let's get you girls back to your class. Techna questioned. And how are you going to do that? For similar noodles materialize behind the original, shocking the specialists and fairies. Like this. The ninja made a cross seal with his fingers, describing it as Shadow Clone Spirit Art. He extended his hand to Bloom and said, Ladies, if you would. Before she was put on the boy's back, she accepted it with pleasure. It's déjà vu. As soon as the women mounted the identical clones, the original turned to face the specialists. He, the clones, and the fairies took to the trees after saying, Good luck with the troll, guys. The humans' shown abilities astounded the lads. Riven said, Damn. I can see why she's into him. This caused a furious Sky to repeatedly kick the troll. The room of Althea Bloom. Nerda and Musa stood close to the door, and Nerdy used his hand to suppress a yawn. After locating the girl's nature teacher and classmates, it was discovered that Bloom's group had the best grade for the most time spent in nature. Bloom, what did you want to talk about? He was going to depart after receiving the clone's memories of the house being finished, but Bloom persuaded him to stay for a while. While her pet rabbit thought about it, Bloom exclaimed with excitement, I've been thinking, we're a really awesome group and we should have an awesome name. What do you think? Before she spoke, Techna massaged her chin. Actually, it's a pretty good idea. A name is good for quick reference. Stella got up from where she was sitting on the ground. The right name would give us that certain something. We could be called something like the Wonder 5, Stella 5, or the Power Troop, or the BSMTF. BSMTF? Simultaneously asked Nerda and Musa. Stella used her fingers to represent each of the words and continued. Check it out, beauty, style, magic, taste, and flair. And those are also the first letters of each of our names. She seemed pleased about it. Musa, however, disapproved of it and dismissed it. Stella slouched her shoulders and pouted, saying, Nah, too cheesy. Techna and Musa agreed with Flora as she raised her hand and said, I say Bloom picks it. Bloom was a bit taken aback. She pulled something out of her drawer and exclaimed, Really? 'Cause I did come up with a little something and I even made a logo. Check it out. The word Winx was written on a sheet of paper. Stella, Flora, and Musa complimented the logo's color and style. But, so our name is Winx? Techna inquired, mildly perplexed. Bloom grinned and said, Even better. We're the Winx Club. Sparks of magic emerged from her fingertips as she moved her hands. The girls looked at Nerda as he cleared his throat. He turned to face the door and started to walk away when Bloom called his name. Cool name for you ladies. I'll talk to you in the morning. What? Bloom exclaimed joyfully. It's not just us, Nerda. You're a member too. After a few moments, Nerda said a single syllable. Eh?